So Samsung just released some new watches. And in today's video, we're primarily talking about the Watch 5 Pro versus the Watch 4 Classic. Let's dive into it and see what benefits you're gaining with the new one. And is it enough of an upgrade? Let's find out. There's some key factors that really play into which device may be the right one for you. Sure, this one here is the newest one. This is the Watch 5 Pro. This is the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. There's some key identifiers here that may actually make you decide on one over the other. And I want to go over those so that you're fully aware of maybe the decision that you should take on should you go with the newest model and some of its newest features, or maybe stick with this one if you have it, or save some money and go with this if you don't have either of these yet. So between these two devices, they're both a Super AMOLED screen. They both are supporting Wear OS. This one, the Watch 4, has Bluetooth 5. The Watch 5 has Bluetooth 5.2. One of the big differences between these two is in battery life. And I can confirm by wearing these both regularly, and this one for a year, and then this one for the last week or so, that the battery life is considerably better on this one. 590 milliamp battery, which has approximately, they rated it 80 hours, and this one has a 361 milliamp battery that they rated. I haven't ever seen these hours, so I'm suspecting you can reach these hours maybe if you have the display off and you have it in power saving mode. That might be one way you can actually reach that. But if you like your watch on, or you want it at full brightness, etc., all these things of course play into affecting the battery life. This one, I can definitely tell a considerable difference in the battery. With this one, I'm charging it daily. With this one, I can make it probably at least a day and a half. We can see that it's quite a bit thicker. Now, as far as the dimensions and the actual watch itself, we can see that the size of the actual bezels, size of the actual frame itself, and the display are nearly identical. Some of the other differences are there are a brighter PPI, which means the amount of pixel per inch, or how bright it can get, etc. The Watch 5 is a brighter unit. It gets to 454 pixels per inch as opposed to 330. So it will get brighter. Is it considerable? Not in my opinion. In direct sunlight, I can probably notice a little bit, but otherwise, I think they're still both very comparable. Other things to go over, of course, is the sensors. This is actually using the same sensor. So the sensor that's in the Watch 5 is the same sensor that is in the Watch 4. It is a 3-in-1 bioactive sensor. The only addition that the sensor has, and I believe it's from this, is a temperature sensor. So there's not much done with that yet, but Samsung is working with third parties and their own software, and so they'll be able to calculate your actual temperature and alert you if you have a elevated temperature, etc. So that is a benefit. If you want to track your temperature, then definitely go with this one. If that's not something, then the sensor itself works identically the same. And what they have also done is protrude the sensor out, and that's why there's a thickness on this a little bit more besides the battery. They've curved the sensor out so that it is more flush to your wrist. So as far as feeling and comfort, I can actually say that the bands in the watch actually fits a little more snug due to that curvature to the watch. It's more curvature to the indention in your wrist that you would have with a watch. But either one's still, of course, very comfortable watch. And you know, a lot of this depends on a band. This is just an aftermarket band that I picked up that I'm just showcasing so that I can have it on a flat surface. The D band, I think it's called a D band buckle. It's a magnetic buckle. This is the newest one that comes with the Watch 5 or as an option. It is a nice quality band. We can see the magnetic clasp there. Problem though with this band, which I don't know why they didn't think of this, with this band on, I'll kind of simulate this here. It has a natural curvature because of how the magnet works. Any flat wireless charger that you have, like the triple charger or the dual charger from Samsung, will not let the watch sit flat on it. So that's a big negative to me. So you would have to use a single puck and then be able to magnetically place it on it to charge it. But beyond that, back to the sensor, they are exactly the same. And I have tested this. I've placed the watches on different wrists. I've done multiple workouts from circuit workouts, and we'll see some of the details here and some information on the workout information, but identical to the information you're getting or the calculations on calories and heart rate. Sometimes this one seems like it might be just a few beats more accurate than the Watch 4, but I think a lot of that really depends on the fit of the watch on your wrists. But since the sensor is exactly the same, you're really not gaining much on hoping that the sensor is vastly improved in the Watch 5. One of the other big points that I want to make definitely distinguishes the two, and we can see it pretty clearly, and this was, if you've seen any of the advertisement for it, you can clearly see it as well, and that is the bezel and how the rotating crown works. This is a digital crown only. This is a physical crown. And what I mean by that is there is actually a rotating bezel here. And see, we can see this actually works to rotate through the menus. Naturally, of course, it's touchscreen. You can go through the menus if you want. Same here, you can go through the menus. But what you do with this one is you rotate at the corner of the display or very top, and see, we can go through the menus. But here's some things to consider about these. If you're looking at one of these, or if you have the Watch 4 already and considering upgrading, I personally think it's a loss. I think this is something that sets the Samsung watches apart from other Wear OSs. You know, some other Wear OS devices have the crown, which is another nice way to navigate through the menu. But obviously that is a big difference in the two. This is obviously another preference thing. Maybe you weren't one that used the rotating crown much on the Watch 4, or even earlier versions that offered this as well. But personally, to me, I thought that was a major standout point for the Samsung watches. And especially when they were on Tizen, I thought that was a big selling point. Even when, you know, they were on Tizen, didn't have the app offerings that Wear OS did, that made it very compelling to go with a Samsung just because of how the interface worked. Having that physical crown allows one key factor to be different when submerged in water. Since this is a physical crown, if you get a text response or some notification in, you can still use the physical crown in water to rotate through and see your message. What happens on any type of display that is affected by water, say your hands are still wet, or you've just brought the watch back out of water, water's going off of the display. If you try to navigate, what will happen is sometimes it will do false readings because it can't figure out if you are actually touching what type of command is trying to be sent to the display because of water still interfering. So this is one thing that I really do still like about having the crown. So with what all has been said about the Watch 5, I don't think there's enough personally myself to merit the upgrade over the Watch 4. There's still one major benefit to me that I think the Watch 4 is great for, and that is the rotating crown. You know, I've talked about this, that you lose that in the Watch 5, but that feature may not matter to you. And you may be coming from a Watch 3 generation or older. And at that point, then it probably makes the most sense for you to go to the Watch 5, unless you really want that rotating crown. Now, here's the thing. With the last 2 generations, these watches are running on Wear OS now. That is Google's OS for watches. So these aren't the only ones that'll be out this year. There'll be ones from Fossil and other companies that make one every year. And then, of course, there's a new contender that makes the operating system for these watches. Google is finally releasing their own Pixel Watch. And that Pixel Watch, just like the Pixel phones, is going to have specific advantages. And that main advantage is having the Fitbit ecosystem built into the watch. There's a lot of watches out there right now for Wear OS. This isn't your only option, but Samsung's watches at the moment, and even after the Pixel releases, are definitely some of the very top watches to get. And you really wouldn't be in bad shape if you went with the 4th gen or the 5th gen. It's really up to you what features you're looking for the most. Let me know in the comments below what is most important to you. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.